Good afternoon. It is 4 o'clock on the 21st of March, 2022, and I am officially opening this meeting of the Conway City Council. Very happy that all of you are here. Madam Clerk, have we satisfied the requirements of FOIA? Thank you so much. We are pleased to have Josh T.G. here with us with First United Methodist Church, who will deliver our invocation and lead us in the pledge.
Shall we pray? Creating and sustaining one, you have gifted us the beauty of ancient oaks, life-cultivating wetlands, and beautiful river which surround our life in the community of Conway. Natural beauty charms the mind and inspires creativity. And in the middle of all the natural beauty is the crowning of achievement, her people, which you have also created. We give you thanks for the people of this community, for every citizen that lives therein. We thank you for the people of vision who have brought our community through difficult times and those individuals who make Conway strong. We recognize that together we are stronger still. And we pray this day for the proceedings of this civic meeting. We pray for our mayor, Barbara Bellamy, and give you thanks for her concerns for our community's well-being. We pray for all of our city council members who give of themselves and their time and their talents to serve the common good. And we pray over the agenda set before them today. We recognize that we are not a perfect people and we all need your grace. Help us to remember to grieve our shortcomings and to rise above them. Grant to us the strength to do so. And in the things that we have done well, let our hearts and voices rejoice for their goodness. Give to all of us the reminder that the world is not infinite in resources or land, and let us make wise choices that bring responsible progress. Let us work not for individual interests, but fill us with the intention to serve the ones who have the most need. Let us be humble, let us be gracious, let us be merciful. We pray that you fill our desires with the desires of God, for true justice and liberty and mercy, and the things that make us a community of love. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. We will now entertain a motion for approval of the agenda. Mr. Goldfinch? Yes, sir. Mr. Hyman. We have a properly seconded motion to approve the agenda as it is set forth. All in favor with a show of hands, please. And that motion carries unanimously. Next is the consent agenda and its approval. Mr. Hyman.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you, sir. Mr. White.
Second motion.
Thank you. We have a properly seconded motion to also approve the consent agenda. All in favor, please indicate with a show of hands. And that motion also carries unanimously. Item 5 is public input. This is an opportunity for anyone to speak before this council with any interests, any concerns, any recommendations, any complaints that you may have. The exception being anything that has to do specifically with an individual employee, in which case we would have to take that up in a more private venue. Public input is not interactive. We hear from you. We may, every once in a while, if the answer is easy, I'll say so. Somebody on our staff may pass you a business card, but just know that we're always available through telephone and email, but we won't follow up in this meeting. The last thing is that public input limits you to 5 minutes. You'll see a monitor in front and in back of you so that you can time your presentation. If you're in the middle of a sentence, I will not cut you off at 5 minutes and 2 seconds. I'll let you finish the sentence, but we can't let it go on any longer than that. Please begin with giving your name and address and speak directly into the microphone. People in the back tell me that they have trouble enough hearing us, and it's worse with that mic. I don't think it is as sensitive. Is there anyone present who would like to speak under public input? Mr. White,
Mayor, I move that we close public input.
Mr. Goldfitch.
I second Mr. White's motion, please.
We have a motion to close public input at this time. All in favor, would you indicate with the showing of your right hand? That motion carries unanimously. Item 6A, Employee of the Month, Public Safety. Okay, just don't let me forget to put you back on this list. Thank you. Item B, Presentation of Longevity Awards. Mr. Emmerich. I've asked Mr. Justin Jordan to deliver a little package that comes along with this honor.
Well, good evening. In 2001, City Council created a program to recognize our employees for milestones and longevity with the city in increments of every 5 years. Tonight, we're really pleased to celebrate 2 employees. First one is Lieutenant Tim Chapman. I saw, come on up, Lieutenant Chapman. Tim was hired with the city in 1992 as a police officer in our police department, was promoted to police patrol officer in 92. In 1997, he was promoted to police corporal. In 2000, he was promoted to police sergeant. Also in 2000, promoted to police lieutenant. In 1997, he was the officer of the year. And in 2002, he was employee of the year. And this is the last longevity we'll be celebrating with Lieutenant Chapman. He's retiring later this month, right? Yes, sir. It is.
Yes, yes. Lieutenant Chapman, this is little to say, but on behalf of this council, I certainly want, and the people of Conway, I want to give you many kudos and much thanks for all your service. God bless you.
I should have put these in the other order because I don't want to diminish Willie Woodbury's. Come on up, Willie. Willie's been with the city for 15 years tonight. He was hired in 2007 as a meter reader in public utilities. He was promoted to water meter technician in 2000. And the mural that you see on the other side to make sure that pulled off. So thank you, Willie, for 15 years with the city.
Thank you for your service, Willie. Next item on the agenda is item C, recognition of employee for the graduation from the South Carolina State Firefighter Association, Chief Hendrick.
Sergeant Bill Moore with Fire Department. He just recently graduated from the State of South Carolina Firefighter Association Leadership Institute. This 12-month leadership development and educational process. This educates the executive level environment, emphasizing communication, and improve process-based skills. Participants of this program are expected to receive the knowledge, working knowledge of numerous varied aspects of the intricacies of the fire service within the South Carolina State Fire Service. Very much a mouthful, that makes sure. Congratulations, this is an outstanding achievement. He is one of the only 2 ever completed through the city of Conway. There were 12 that were selected out of 17,000 firefighters. So
wow.
So congratulations.
Congratulations. Yes, please.
This better? So we want to recognize 2 fire department employees for the public safety employees of the month. We have Captain Antoine Neesmith and Sergeant Anthony Croniker. Captain Neesmith was recently awarded the 2021 Tony D. Hendrick Fire Officer of the Year Award. This is an annual award given based on recommendations from the peers. I just want to read the quick snippet from the recommendation letter. Antoine comes to work with the best interests of the city, department, and personnel in mind. Antoine is the first to arrive and the last to leave. Antoine also carries the ideology of onto the fireground. Antoine also goes the extra mile to make sure all of his work is completed with his pride and heart. Antoine always takes on new tasks and new complaints with ease. So congratulations, Captain Neesmith. Sergeant Anthony Chronicler. Sergeant Anthony Chronicler was recently awarded the 2021 Samuel E. Hendrick Firefighter of the Year Award. This is an annual award given based on recommendations from peers as well. The nominating employee stated, Anthony does not have a single incident, but every single incident that he responds to. He is always smiling and always does his job, whether on scene or around the station. He is a very dependable firefighter and has a lot of knowledge in the fire service. Anthony is an asset to the city of Conway and a blessing to work with. Anthony was recently promoted to fire sergeant, so he did win the Firefighter of the Year, but he is now an officer. Just want to clarify that. So congratulations to these two. They also get eight hours of vacation and I can't count. I should have brought 3. I forgot Sergeant Moore's. I'll get him tomorrow. So congratulations on Employee of the Month.
Congratulations to you both. Item D is a request to annex approximately 35 and 89 acres of property located on Light Road, PIN 32400000007 and 23400000006. And request to rezone from Ordinance County Commercial Forest Agriculture to City of Conway Low Density Residential. Ms. Hardin.
Yes, ma'am. This will be on a public hearing at your next meeting on April 4th. The property in question is located off of Light Road between Highway 813 and 65. Thank you. Staff went out to review the property and found that it is exactly like it looks like on the aerials, very sparsely wooded and mostly vacant. We took site photos to verify the property location. We're also looking at, we always look at the current zoning around the property. There was a typo in the original application that said R3. We did find from the applicant that was R1, and we corrected the paperwork to reflect that, although you may still see it in the application. We also looked at future land uses for this property and the surrounding area. It's a mix between rural agriculture, rural residential and residential single family. The R1 request matches the properties around it. And the Planning Commission did unanimously recommend approval of the annexation at their March 3rd meeting. Again, the letters have gone out, the signs have gone up. I believe that there have been 19 letters sent, and the legal ad will run so that the public hearing can be held at your next meeting.
Thank you so much. So this presentation is for preliminary information.
Yes, ma'am. It's a special review prior to the public hearing.
Thank you so much. Are there questions or comments from the council?
I think I have one, just a minute. Quick one. I noticed from the paperwork, it looks like within a square mile, it's predominantly all R1 around it.
For the Conway, yes, sir, absolutely. That was
Looks
back,
like for even the county residential around it appears to mostly be single-family residents that would probably be very similar to R1 as well.
the density counts are very similar, yes, sir.
Mr. White?
And also on the application, it said, the question was, are there any wetlands on property? And the answer was yes. Would those wetlands be disturbed in any form or fashion?
We'll get to that during the site planning, but what we do by asking that up front is to make sure that we know where it'll go so that when the site planning happens, that we don't miss it. We're looking for opportunities at the beginning to make sure we make better choices before the next phases.
Thank you, ma'am.
And this is pretty much for the public. An R1
Oh,
Zone
R1 is a low.
is the most restrictive.
It
zoning.
is, yes, ma'am. It's a low density, single family residential. It allows for very little other than housing.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, thank you for that.
You're
We'll
welcome.
move forward to item E, request to rezone 3 parcels, PINs 36802020031, 0032, and 0033, totaling 39 hundredths of an acre located at 813 and 815 Wright Boulevard and between Wright Boulevard, Highway 378 and Carpet Alley from neighborhood commercial and mixed use to low density residential in order to construct a garage for a home at 815 Wright Avenue. Ms. Hardin.
Yes, ma'am. The letters have gone out for this as well. The sign going up and the legal ad being run for this. This will also be at your next meeting for a public input, hearing. The property in question is at 815 Wright Avenue. That's where the story began. Ms. Tenney, who lives in the house, wants to build a garage behind her house. As you can see on the site plan or the map below, Ms. Tenney's house and the back of the property where the house is located it's not enough room for a garage on its own. But the property owner owns the property behind it and the property beside it. So Ms. Tenney has gotten permission from the property owner to make all three properties all one lot so that she can get a garage behind it. City of Conway regulations require that if you have a lot that it has the same zoning, the three lots have two different zones, so we look to combine them, but neither neighborhood commercial nor mixed use was a good fit for just putting a garage on the house. So the R1 zone, which is across Carpet Alley, became the requested amount. We talked about the accessory structures and where they go. When we went to planning commission, we talked about the big difference in uses. Going from neighborhood commercial to a single family zone is a large reduction in the number of types of uses that someone could use the property for. Luckily, the property owner only wants to use it for a house and just wants to put a garage to shed her car. The current zoning has a single family across Carpet Alley and neighborhood commercial along 378. Also some highway commercial closer to the intersection of 378 and 501. Future land use showed it staying as is, but because of this recommendation or because of this situation, the Planning Commission did recommend approval during their meeting on March 2nd.
Thank you so much, Ms. Hardin. Are there comments or questions from the council? No, the owner is here. Welcome, Ms. Tenney. There being none, we'll move forward to item 7, public hearing and first reading. A, public hearing and first reading of ordinance ZA 2022-0404A to rezone approximately 47 hundredths of an acre of property located at 1705 Mckethen Street, PIN 33806030071 from City of Conway low density residential to City of Conway neighborhood commercial. Ms. Hardin.
Yes, ma'am. I do want to note that we sent out several letters on this item and received several back. They should be with your packet as the city clerk received them. And as she always does, sends those with you to your packet. This request is for a piece of property as stated on Mckethen. The item, it's hard to see on the map, but this is the property location. We try to zoom out and see any sources for flooding when we're looking at rezonings and annexations. And that one happened to be zoomed out quite a bit. So on the property map on the left, you have current zoning, and the current zoning is neighborhood commercial, as is abutting the property on two sides. If you are in the house looking out the front, the left-hand property across 18th is zoned neighborhood commercial, and the one behind is zoned neighborhood commercial. The one straight ahead is zoned R1, and the one to the right is zoned R1. So we have two zones abutting this property. Future land use showed it staying as residential, but the applicant has an interest in conveying the property for the use of either a mortuary service or a future commercial use if that sale doesn't go through. When we're evaluating rezonings, we look at the different types of uses. Neighborhood commercial uses are on scale of the neighborhoods and typically are smaller grocery stores. They can be convenience stores, laundromats, barbershops, beauty shops, and the like. They can also be funeral homes and mortuaries. We looked at the setbacks for a mortuary on the site and determined that the setbacks might be met. But when we reevaluated the parking, we had a very difficult time determining exactly whether the parking would be met on the site or not, because it depends on the size of the chapel. And if there's a 200 square foot chapel in the house, then that's what we base it on, not the actual square footage of the house. So I wanted to remind everyone when we're talking about this, that it's one space per 4 seats in the chapel for a reason, for parking, or one space per 5 seats in the chapel or parlor. The planning commission, looking at the straight up rezoning and not having had the input from the neighborhood, they weren't uniform in their recommendation. Majority did vote to approve, but the commission noted their concern about parking in the neighborhood during events when there would be funerals or any other type of business use that might have additional parking on the street and the level of parking that would be required for these events. We did talk about the option for parking off-site. Part of the recommendations for parking off-site and sharing parking for it with another entity is that the parking off-site be within a certain amount of feet of the unit and also be deeded and restricted for parking only. There are no lots within a 200-foot radius of this property that currently would meet that ability.
Thank you, ma'am. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone present this afternoon who would like to speak either in favor of or against this rezoning? I saw your hand first. Let's just start on this side, sir. I'll get to you in just a minute. Yes, sir. And if you would, please start with your name and address.
Yeah, I'm the owner of the property. I am Bill Cooper. I live in Conway, 986 Nottingham Lakes Road.
Yes, sir.
My only request was that the council explain to the neighbors what would be allowed in neighborhood commercial. Because I think the anxiety is that if Mr. Lewis was to sell the property, it would be open to a lot of big commercial use. I think we could alleviate that anxiety by explaining to everybody that we're not going to wind up with a bar and grill or something like that. If everyone could just clearly know what neighborhood commercial would entail.
Yes, sir. Understood.
Okay.
That is a lengthy presentation, and I believe, Ms. Hardin, a bar and grill does fall under neighborhood commercial, does it not? So it could in fact become
I was
a bar and grill.
led to believe that couldn't happen.
I believe our ordinance allows it. Am I correct, Ms. Hardin? I was going to make that point myself.
I am unclear on the alcohol, but I am clear on the restaurant without a drive-through. Restaurant without a drive-through is absolutely a use that would be allowed in the neighborhood.
Yeah, bars, nightclubs.
Yeah,
Bars and nightclubs. Thank you.
so it could be. Yes, sir.
Okay.
So it's pretty broad.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Is there further clarification or is that?
As it's requested. We're not going to turn this into a workshop, but I think if a bar, a nightclub, a restaurant, if those things are allowed, I think the audience can get a good feel of how broad that opportunity is. Thank you, sir. I believe the lady here, no, I'm sorry. I know. The gentleman here, yes, sir, please.
Is it all right if I speak from here? I think
You're loud and clear. Yes, sir. If you'll give us your name and address. I'm sorry. They are recording what's being said, and that's why the mic is important. I'm sorry, if you don't mind. I'm sorry.
Ed McNew. And I live across the street, 1703.
Yes, sir.
My wife and I sent out a letter, and we sent that letter to you. In fact, I think everybody here has gotten that letter, and I had 45 signatures, and we ran out of time. I could have gotten more if I wanted to. Even a member of the church who represented the Baptist church, which is in that neighborhood, signed it. She was the trustee. The president, of course, the minister couldn't sign it because he's not the owner. So she speaks for the church. So in addition to her and others, we're against that. We want the neighborhood to remain as it is. And we've lived there a long time. It's a good neighborhood. Going around talking to the people, I met some new people I hadn't known before, and they were all for it. And I was glad to see we have good neighbors all around there, a bunch of neat people. And so we sent a letter in, and of course, I'm not going to reread that, of course, and you've seen that, so you can consider that yourself. But we have a group of people here with me who are also against it, so we would like to see that does not occur.
Thank you, sir. And I was going to make note that we'd gotten your letter. I was going to make note for the record that we did receive your letter and those signatures that you mentioned.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Now might be a good time for me to ask if everyone who is opposed to the change of zoning to happen at that lot to raise your hand, please. Thank you very much. And is there anyone here who would like for the rezoning to take place? Thank you. Thank you so much. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? There being none? Mr. Goldfinch.
Mayor, I move that we close public hearing at this time.
Mr. White.
Second.
Probably seconded motion to close the public input on this matter. All in favor with a show of hands, please. Motion carries unanimously. This is public hearing and first reading. Mr. Hyman.
Mayor, at the appropriate time, I would have a motion. I know just coming out of public hearing, there are things that come in front of us that make sense and some that don't. And this, to me, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Sorry to that, because I'm making a motion that we deny that request.
Is there a second? Mr. Jordan.
I'll second Mr. Hyman's motion.
We have a properly seconded motion to deny the request of the applicant. Is there further discussion or questions from the council? There being none, I'll call a vote. All in favor of the denial of the request to rezone, please indicate your decision by raising your right hand. The motion carries unanimously. Thank you all. Yes, you're welcome. Item B, public hearing and first reading of ordinance CA 2022-0404B to annex approximately 18 6/10 acres of property located at 3525 West Highway 501, PIN 32600000025, and request to rezone from Oregon County Commercial Forestry Agriculture to City of Conway Highway Commercial. Ms. Hardin.
Yes, ma'am. This is the public hearing and potential first reading for the property as shown on the map, just outside of the 50, just on the 501 corridor, excuse me. When we receive this application, of course, we go through and evaluate where the property would be located and if we have the availability for services in that area. The current zoning nearby on the property includes highway commercial along the 501 corridor and residential to the rear of the property. The future land use map reflected the same, with the corridor being commercial and rear being recommended for single family. For the highway commercial uses, the list is quite extensive for highway commercial, but again, we have a lot of opportunities along the highway corridor for highway corridors serve not just the locals, but also regional and interstate traffic. So they have a lot of variety of options and are typically located on high capacity roadways, which this would be. In addition, the property that's proposed is located adjacent to Highway 833. Yeah,
548.
Thank you. I'll get it. I'll get it. I'll get it. 548. And so it would have the opportunity to have access on both roads, which would help alleviate some of the access stress for anything going on in 501. The Planning Commission evaluated the opportunities of the area. As you can see on the map, the water and sewer services do go past this area up to up another about a half mile or mile so on the roadway. And the Planning Commission, by evaluating the property and the potential for commercial use in the area, recommended approval of the annexation and the rezoning to highway commercial rather than to the standard at their February 3rd meeting.
Thank you, ma'am. This is also a public hearing. Is there anyone present who would like to speak before this council, either in favor of or against this action? There seems to be no one. Mr. White?
May I move that we close public hearing?
Thank you, sir. Is there a second? Mr. Goldfinch?
I second Mr. White.
We have a properly seconded motion to close public hearing at this time. All in favor, please show your right hand. And that motion carries unanimously. And now relative to first reading, Mr. Goldfinch.
Mayor, I move that we approve first reading of said ordinance.
Thank you. Is there a second? Mr. Hyman?
Second, Mr. Ordinance's motion.
Thank you. We have a properly seconded motion to approve this annexation. Is there any discussion or questions from council? There being none, I'll call a vote. All in favor, please indicate so by raising your right hand. And that motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item 8, first reading of ordinance ZA 2022-0404C to annex approximately 6 1/10 acres of property located at 2827 Long Avenue Extension, PIN 32415010005, and request to rezone from Horry County Residential to City of Conway, low to medium density residential. Ms. Hardin.
Thank you, ma'am. This is a single-family lot proposing to connect to water and sewer. There are properties on either side of Long Avenue that are already in the city limits. So while it's not a large donut hole, it is a small donut hole, and we do encourage annexations of donut holes. The Planning Commission also recommends annexations of donut holes. And so staff, the recommendation is to annex and rezone to R1 as requested.
Thank you, Ms. Hardin. Is there any discussion from the council or any questions of Ms. Hardin? In that case, is there a motion? Mr. Hyman.
Mayor, I'd make a motion, we approve first reading of the annex.
Thank you.
Request.
Thank you, sir. Mr. White.
Second motion?
We have a probably seconded motion to approve first reading of this request for annexation. All in favor with a show of your right hand? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item 9A, consideration of a resolution to authorize the fee in lieu of open space, pardon me, at White Oak Estates subdivision. Ms. Hardin.
Yes, ma'am. This is a request by White Oak Estates. As the statutes allow, if you have less than an acre to put in open space, you provide a fee in lieu instead of holding a small tract of land in open space. White Oak Estates did petition to hold their section and fee in lieu of open space just over $970. And the Planning Commission unanimously approved the request.
Thank you, ma'am.
Recommend approval, excuse me.
Thank you. Mr. Hyman.
I know in the past, we've kind of said as a council, we're not going to do this, but also know with Culture Road, with the expansion of it at some point, unfortunately, fee and lieu sometimes makes more sense on those that the DOT is going to expand it. I hate to build it and then tear it up. I'll just kind of make that note. I'm all for sidewalks, but unfortunately, I think that's coming on Culture Road.
This one's not for a sidewalk waiver.
This
it's
is for open space.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Mr. White.
My issue is similar in that the open space that would be allowed would be space where a park possibly could go, or some other event, a place where the community could use for themselves. Whereas if we don't do that, they won't have that space to do certain things with. Am I correct?
In part, yes, sir. In this particular situation, that open space was so small that it was not considered enough open space to satisfy a neighborhood. So that it was, for lack of a better term, it'd be more trouble than it's worth as an open space for maintenance and for dedication and the like.
Thank you.
Mr. Goldfinch.
I'm gonna move that we approve this, authorize the fee in lieu, just given the size of the entire, the entirety of the project. That's my motion.
I'm going to second it only because of the size of the space, and I'll say more about that later. We have a properly seconded motion. All in favor, please show your right hand. Well, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Let's not take the vote yet. We've got some comments and questions. Yes, sir. Thank you.
I'm assuming that those homes will be built facing Culture Road.
Yes.
And to Mr. Hyman's excellent point, at some point, we know Culture Road's going to be widened. 4 lane, who knows? We don't know, right? do we have anything in place to require them to build these homes further back off the road? And I get it. I understand builders want them as close to the road because it's less driveway that they have to put in. But this is going to be a problem.
There's a overlay on Culture Road that requires 50 foot of space between the right of way for landscaping and the like. And additionally, in the beginning of this design, there were 3 sidewalks being required. And so we've worked with the applicant to not waste the time of paving a sidewalk that will go away in a few years, that will not connect to a current system. So they have a setback, and within that area, they have a setback side.
One of my concerns is when we accept a fee in lieu, this is maybe the exception to the rule because it's such a small space. But the reason we ask for public space because we know the importance of it. As the city grows larger, we have larger expanses of space where there's no public space at all. And one of my concerns is whether or not our fees make sense. I want us to, it's going to take some creativity to work all of these little kinks out. But one of my concerns is that we get a relatively small fee from a developer here and there. And 10 years later, we go seek to buy some property to build a park. And inflation and for other reasons, the cost gets pretty large. And I don't know that we're ever able to actually make a purchase with the funds that we've held in place in terms of fees in lieu. When, I don't know.
We can definitely look at that. One of the things that we have as an opportunity is that fee in lieu could also be used as a match for a grant, where it would not be the total amount that would be used to purchase the property, but that money can be used towards a 25% match or a 75% grant for open space, like FEMA open space and the like.
Right, and that's an opportunity, but we don't get that opportunity often, and when we
I'm
do,
more
it's
than
not
happy
even
to-
guaranteed.
More than
But-
happy to look at this and see if there's a way to do it the same way we do with public infrastructure by adding a 25% overage at
That's
the time.
exactly where I'm going with this, yeah, and the same for sidewalks. Costs just raise over time, hardly ever go down.
We'll do the math on that and bring it back to you for a workshop discussion.
All right, thank you. That's my concern. Anybody else? Now I'll call a vote. All in favor? Please designate so by raising your right hand, and motion carries unanimously. Thank you so much. Item 9B, consideration of a resolution to authorize the fee in lieu of open space at South Oaks Phase 2 subdivision. Ms. Hardin.
Thank you. This is a similar request, but this is for South Oaks Phase 2. South Oaks is requesting a fee in lieu because, again, it had less than 1 acre of open space to be required for the property. The current fee is determined by calculating the fair market value of the unimproved land per acre and multiplying that by the required open space. In this case, the Horry County land records indicated a market value of $97,000 for the property, which was right at 3.6 acres. There were 16 lots proposed. Multiplying all that together comes up with a fee in lieu of $8,760.59 exactly. This fee would be required to be paid prior to recording any lots, granting any permits for development or any permits for a planned district development in accordance with the code. Planning Commission did recommend approval of the request.
Thank you, ma'am.
In this particular site, when we evaluated it, it is located on a very small right of way. It's in a corner area. There is some area behind it that is wet, but it didn't come on the site. Again, the acreage that it would have been required would have been very small and hard to place in that area because of the need for the infrastructure and right of way. So this was recommended.
I have one quick question.
Sure.
How many lots or structures or homes are required to call it a subdivision?
4 or
Just 4.
less is a minor subdivision, 5 or more is a major subdivision.
Thank you. What's the will of the council? Mr. Chapman, I always look to the left and I can always depend on you. I don't mean to always call on you. Yours is firsthand I see.
I will, I'll make a motion if we do the same, as far as considering resolution to authorize the fee.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Give it to him.
Give it to him, Mr. Goldfinch.
I'll second Mr. Hyman's motion, please.
Thank you. We have a properly seconded motion to approve this consideration of a resolution. Is there any discussion? There being none, all in favor indicate with showing your right hand. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you so much. Item C, consideration of duty weapon to be placed in the surplus. Chief Long.
Mayor and Council, thank you for the moment to speak. On March 31st, Lieutenant Tim Chapman will be retiring with 30 years of service to the city of Conway. It is my desire to be able to surplus his duty weapon to award that to him in honor of the years of service that he's done for us. I will have a longer proclamation for you to give to him at the April meeting after that date passes.
Will it be mounted?
I will defer to however we can get it done. Sure.
I said, will it be mounted?
We'll get that work.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we're doing, matter of fact, I think the 31st is our drop-in, so you should all have a invitation to it as well. He'll have his shadow box and everything that we'll present to him at that time.
Chief, I think that's such a no-brainer that I'm going to move that we do just that. And I'm also going to move that that be our practice in the future for 30-year law enforcement officers. Thank you so much. For a properly seconded motion, are there any questions or any discussion? There being none, I'll call for a show of hands of those who approve. It's unanimous. Thank you so much, Chief. Item D, consideration of obtaining ownership of Pine Street and 9th Avenue from SCDOT. Mr. Harrelson.
Mayor, Council, how's everybody doing tonight?
Good.
Fine, thank you.
Before you, we have 9th Avenue, a portion of from Church Street to Highway 378, and also Pine Street from Church Street to 9th Avenue. Both of these streets are very valuable to the city. They're currently owned and maintained by SCDOT. We're requesting to take ownership of those specific areas from Department of Transportation so we can further our connectivity to the city and provide more pedestrian access in the future. City Public Works Department, we're already maintaining sidewalks, patching potholes in these areas, so it wouldn't really incur any new maintenance costs. I'd be happy to answer any question.
Mr. Harriman.
Mayor, I think this is one of those things, it's a no-brainer. This is an area that we specifically spoke about at budget retreat to better and make it really look beautiful. There may be other questions, but I would make a motion at the appropriate time that we do this.
Thank you so much. Mr. White.
I'll second this motion.
We have a properly seconded motion, but we'll still hold that until there are other questions heard. Mr. Goldfinch.
We're way ahead of schedule here, so I'm gonna ask a question. What's the chances that we could install, that's a dark street. So does by taking this give us the ability to install lights?
So I've actually been working with Chief Long in some other areas, and we're trying to get some more lights added throughout the area. So right now it'd be just your typical roadway light, the one you see hanging over. Eventually we would like to get to a better, more decorative light as we start construction. In
A
those
lot
areas.
of people walk that road. There's some folks that live on that road that have special needs and are often out in the street in their wheelchairs and all that kind of stuff. And it's scary because it's so dark and you come around that corner and you can't see. And anyway, that'd be great. Thank you.
I'll say the same for Pine Street. They both are. So there's a properly seconded motion on the floor, and I'll call for a vote. All in favor indicate so by showing your hand. And that motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harrelson. Item E, consideration of a resolution to amend projects for the city of Conway HUD Cdbg entitlement grant for the year 9 and year 10. Mr. Rogers.
Good evening. I apologize for looking more casual than usual, but I literally flew to this meeting from Baltimore, so this is the best I could do. This is a resolution to ask the county who manages our Cdbg entitlements from a few years ago that we have yet to spend because they were excess from other programs, to move it to the Smith Jones Pool project. And we've got the funding in place for that project, but this funding would be used along with some additional funding that's being considered in the next budget to add a splash pad. This would be a phased project. This would be phase 2 of the project. We would go ahead and move forward with the pool project to try to get that pool open this season, hopefully. And this splash pad would be for the future. We still have to do an environmental review and all that. But they will allow us to move forward with that while the pool's under construction.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Comments, questions? Mr. White.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept this resolution.
Mr. Jordan.
I will second Mr. White's motion.
Properly seconded motion to approve this plan of the use of CDBG monies. Is there any discussion? There being none. All in favor indicate so with your showing your hand. And that motion carries unanimously. And before 5 o'clock, we are at our city administrator's report.
I will go as fast as I can to keep.
Oh, please don't.
Oh, come on.
It's okay.
We got a train going here. All right. I want to start with some negative news, but it's something we're working on, and that's about fuel prices and their impact on the city budget. So the fuel price, as you know, the fuel prices they're very impactful for our fleet and our budget. To give you a sense of our fuel consumption, we average 332 gallons of gas and 282 gallons of diesel used every day.
Did you say those figures again?
332 of gas and 282 of diesel. At the current price of $4 a gallon for gas and $5 a gallon for diesel, we'll spend far more than our budgeted $453,000 for this fiscal year. The good news is we were a little slightly below budget coming into this high price, and so we've got a little bit of room to play. But if these prices continue, it will push us over for this year, and then next year will also be a little bit in jeopardy for what we're expecting. But we are working with each department to find ways to reduce our fuel usage while these prices remain so high. Some of our departments, starting last week, have gone to a 4-day, 10-hour work week for some of their crews. We have coverage for all 5 days, but we've got some crews that work 4 hours a day. We estimate in our public works department that we can save $1,000 a month on fuel by doing this. And what that does is that eliminates a lot of the back and forth to the city shop. If you consider when an employee comes in the morning, they clock in, they go to the job site, they clock out to go to lunch, they come back to the job site and they go back. This eliminates one of those movements by doing this. So again, that'll save about $1,000 per month in just one department. Moving on, DHEC has had our permit for the Smith Jones pool now for about 4 weeks. It has not been expedited or approved as yet, but I would ask that we let it run in normal course and get it approved.
Does Mr. White want to go to Columbia?
If we can just, no one on council call, it's going to go through. We'll be all right. And on moving on again, on Friday and Saturday this week, Conway Downtown Live is hosting its first ever Waccamaw Sportsman's Expo at various sites downtown and at the marina, utilizing the old police station site, as well as the tennis center parking lot, the marina, and of course the water itself for some of these events. There is dock diving dogs, cooking demonstration, a fishing tournament, and other demonstrations throughout the 2-day event. And we're expecting a large crowd for this. Not only has the crowds for almost all of our events lately been about double what we were expecting. The weather is supposed to be fantastic for this weekend. So come out and see it, and it'll be exciting to see where it goes.
What time does it kick off? Please?
On Saturday, it starts at 9. I think the dock diving dogs start at 10. And there is Friday afternoon from noon until 6. I believe there are also trials. The dogs jump a little bit beforehand to get the feel of it before the real competition starts on Saturday. Galagici Community Day was a few weeks ago, and for those of you who weren't here, there were some really cool things that happened with that, including this wasn't a parade, it was a processional We had about the same numbers in attendance as we had in 2000, which were very good in 2000. This was an addition to the event. It was puppets, full life-size puppets by an artist with Coastal Carolina University. And in the last year, Conway has hosted at least 6 parades, with each having its own uniqueness. This one, I think, takes the cake. So I just threw those couple pictures in there to show you how cool it was. A few events coming up in addition. March 26th, Camp Great is hosting a 3 versus 3 basketball tournament at the Sports and Fitness Center. On April 8th, Coastal Baseball will host City of Conway Night. So put that on your calendar. I'll have a little bit more details for you. The game, I think, starts at 6 o'clock as of right now, and we play Georgia State, but that's the details I have. Coastal Carolina University is also the home of another champion. Melissa Jefferson is the first ever individual champion from Coastal. She set the record for the Sun Belt Conference and had the 6th fastest time in history in the 60-meter indoor track and field event. And she's a Coastal student. So congratulations to Melissa.
Would you send me an email on that, please, or text? Would you send that to me, please?
Absolutely.
Information. Thank you.
And as you all know, the budget retreat was just a few weeks ago. There were a lot of items that came out of that meeting, those meetings that staff's been working on. You'll see some of those things start to pop up on council agendas for your approval. Tonight, the 9th Avenue and Pine Street issue did come directly out of the budget retreat for your review. And I just bring that to let you know that there's so many things we went over that you're going to start seeing those things come up. So if they feel familiar, that's what they're from. And I've kept it somewhat short tonight because we've got 3 department head reports. First up is Ashley Smith, followed by Chief Hendrick, then Robert Cooper. And unless there are any questions, I'll turn it over to Ashley.
Thank you.
Thank you. Here's Ashley. Here
Madam Mayor, Council.
Mr. Smith.
As Mr. Rogers, he dressed a little casual today, and he normally dresses up. This is about all you get from me. I didn't get off the plane. We have a lot of things going on at the Sports and Fitness Center. I'm going to start off with the infrastructure that we're going over right now. Today, the parking lot by the football and soccer fields by Cannons has been completed. They are working right now by the athletic offices, the Mill Pond Road entrance, and behind Field A. All that will be paved. There'll be no more dirt roads. Whenever we get the road connected and everything, then we'll be ready to go. So very excited about that. The construction of the new building, maintenance building, started today. The athletic storage building is complete. So we have one building up, getting ready to have the second one. Our new multi-purpose field, everybody knows about the field space issue. We've built a new one right by the football field that we can use for soccer, football, any other sport that we want to do. The upcoming infrastructure, we're going to have a little spring cleaning at our pool. That's one area of concern that I've had for a couple of months. And what we're going to do, we're going to drain the pool, we're going to clean it up, and we're actually putting a rubber surface on it. It will be a blue and gray. We've painted the walls blue to kind of make it more professional and look a lot better so we can host some more birthday parties and some more activities out there. A lot of kids are starting to come in. We're hoping for that Smith Jones pool to get built. And if they do not have it built, or we do not have it built, there's a place for the kids in Conway to come. We have scholarships available if they can't afford it. We all know a lot of people, so we'll make sure that these kids have a place to go to swim this summer. Our programs. Big weekend this weekend. We had a fishing derby. I'd like to thank Councilman Goldfinch for helping us out for our fishing derby. I had a pretty good crowd, not a lot of fish, but it was fun. And next year, what we learned is that we're going to have it in conjunction with Hillary's event, the Sportsman. I think that'll be kind of cool to add the kids element to that. The coolest thing we had, though, and what I'm most proud of, is that we hosted the South Carolina Wheelchair Association State Championships. We had 10 teams throughout the state, and they used our facility and rented our facility. And they played Saturday and Sunday, had a banquet on Saturday. And when I say that it wasn't when they played basketball, they played basketball. It wasn't a good feeling moment. They were throwing elbows and they were playing, and it was good to see. I mean, these guys were big and ripped, and the way they played and the way they talked and what they did, it was inspiring to me. So we've talked that we're going to try to get them to do their rugby state championships. They really loved our facility, and plus it's a little extra income for us too. We have several Easter egg hunts coming up. Our first one is going to be April the 9th for the hearing impaired. We'll have a nighttime Easter egg hunt, which is April the 14th. The hearing impaired Easter egg hunt will be April the 9th. We'll have a Easter egg hunt that we'll put eggs in the pool for some kids. And then we have our big one, our mega Easter egg hunt, which we'll have at the Sports and Fitness Center. Mammy and her crew are getting everything ready. So it's going to be a good time. Our spring break camp is full.
What's your age cutoff for the egg hunt? I want to.
Well, it's 13, but we're going to check IDs. We have something for everybody. Just like the Valentine's dance, if we have some older citizens that want to come, then come on.
Thank you.
As I said, spring break camp is full. And that's good. We have 50 participants in that. Registration for our summer camp is almost full. So summer's right around the corner. We've made deals for our sports camp, for our soccer, our Kingston Soccer Club, which is a travel team that plays out of Conway, which they've won a tournament already, I believe. Yeah, so it's exciting to see these kids at a higher level play. They're going to do our soccer tournament, our soccer camp, excuse me. Conway High School and Coastal Carolina University are going to do our other sports camps. So softball camp will be done by Coastal Carolina University and their team. And the other camps will be done by the high school and their coaches.
And we've got a football camp by.
And we do have the West Foundation. That's coming up also. That's something separate, but they're going to have their banquet and everything with us too. Okay, and on to athletics. I did that purposely at the end because I didn't want to get, everybody thinks I'm athletics, but I'm not. But this is very exciting. Since 2013, our spring sports have averaged 768 participants. In 2020, we had 832, and last year we had 906. This year we have 1,193. 508 of those are soccer, 379 are baseball, 144 are softball, 84 are Tiny Tiger soccer, and 78 are Tiny Tiger baseball. With that soccer, we have 4 fields that we use, and we split those up to make 8 fields. Baseball has 6 fields, softball 2, and our soccer kind of plays together. Kind of a running bet in our office is, soccer going to beat baseball or whatever. David Williams wanted me to make sure that everybody knew that baseball has 651 if you count softball. So we do have 651 softball, baseball, and 586 soccer. Our annual Family Fun Day. It's been a tradition since 1983. It will be April the 2nd. I'd like to personally invite the mayor and city council to throw out the first pitch. We'll have games. We'll have our first community yard sale. We'll have inflatables. It'll be a fun day for all the kids to come out, and we definitely want you guys to join us. We have booked 11 dates for weekend softball and baseball tournaments. Our next one is this weekend. The last softball tournament that we had drew over 1,000 participants, and that's not including their families. And what we're trying to do is bring these teams and families in here. So once we get some hotels and that good stuff, then they don't have to go to the beach because we have everything that we need right here in Conway. And we want this to be the destination, not just a place to pass through. So that's our goal with that. We have secured field naming rights for 4 fields. For $15,000 a field over 5 years. So they'll pay $3,000 a year to have their name on the field. It's extra revenue and income that we can use to offset some costs. Our fitness area, we have a new outdoor fitness area. It's located at Pete Wilkes Field. We have 3 new machines in the path that can take you through the complex. Talking to a parent today, they noticed that there were a lot of parents walking while parents practice or the kids are practicing. And that's what we want. We keep everybody active, and you're not just sitting there watching the practice. You can kind of move around and do that. We also, our last thing, actually I have 2 more things, and then Lee can come. I bet that I could talk longer than him. That was our goal there. This is a big one. We've been working in conjunction with the Low Country Food Bank to host free food giveaways once a month since COVID has started. We average about 500 families that receive foods. They line up all the way to Mill Pond Road coming around Ladybug Park. And it's awesome to see the work that they do. And we're going to continue that partnership with them, even though COVID has slowed down. We're going to continue to feed our community. That's what we want to do. And last but not least, I'm very proud of BJ Tompkins. He was chosen to participate in the Little League World Series as a groundskeeper. He was chosen, there were only 4 people from South Carolina chosen. This is the first year that we've done Little League. We were in Dixie Youth and we thought it was time for a change, better organization, better coaching stuff. And BJ is right in the forefront. He's the main reason, he's our ground superintendent, that our place looks so good. They do a great job and I couldn't be prouder of them. And that's all I got, I think.
Before you go, now, you talked about the growth in your sports programs, just in terms of the numbers of children. I've read that the schools are looking at buying more portables. Has there been a baby boom that I missed out on somehow?
Just population.
Just regular population growth. That's wonderful. Thank you. I'm
And
glad
one more thing that
I'm glad
we're
we're
doing,
able to accommodate more and more children.
we're trying to save the environment and we're getting all our schedules on this to save trees. So I'm a big proponent of trees, so we are doing that. I'd also like to thank Chief Long, working with Camp Great. He's got a lot of opportunities for us, so we're happy to be in partnership with him.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much, Mr. Smith. Whew. Chief?
I've got 5 pages.
Oh, we'll get home by 6.
That's right. No, I just wanted to recap our call volume for 2021. It was 3,725 calls. That's up from last year in 2020, which was 3,485, but down from 2019, 3,816. That's due to COVID, we do believe. I mentioned last year in my September report that we were on pace to shatter the record for structure fires in that year, but we only ended up having 3 more. So I guess I talked it down, so that's good. We ended the year with 21 total, which is only 2 more than 2020. So I've got some graphs up here. This shows the call volumes for the 2 years. You probably can't see it, but I can get you a copy if you want. But for the structure fires in 2020, we had 0.55% of our incidents were house fires, and in 2021, it was 0.56. So we talk about house fires a lot, and that's what we gauge a lot of things around, but it's actually one of the lowest parts of our call response. So it's a good problem to have. Medical incidents, we had 43.39% in 2020, and they were down to 42.68 in 2021. And vehicle accidents were 14.11% in 2020, and they're up to 13.64%. So a little bit of fluctuation there. In September 2020, I reported that the average age for fire employees was 38. That has now changed to 37. However, our average years of service in the fire service has gone from 11.3 to 13.4. So we're younger but wiser. I thought that was cool. As of 3/14, we are now fully staffed with 35 employees. That's 30 suppression and 5 administrative personnel. We promoted 7 employees in 2021, and we've already promoted 1 this year. He was here earlier, Sergeant Croniker. We're in the process of scheduling an EMT basic course for 12 of our employees. We've been talking about this for a while now, and it's finally coming together. Met with Horry County Fire Rescue 2 weeks ago and got a verbal confirmation that they will assist with the class and the follow-up. So it's not only just getting them certified, there's a recertification every year. So we will be able to participate in their program, which will save us thousands of dollars. So that's a huge benefit for us. And that's be approximately half of our department in one shot. So we're looking forward to that. We are 1 protective equipment order away from issuing all employees 2 sets of protective equipment. That was a council mentioned goal several years ago that we never thought we'd meet, but we're almost there. So that's a huge benefit for us. This is part of our cancer initiative to give all employees 2 sets of turnout gear. So if they do have an incident, they have soil gear, they can change into cleaner gear, which helps prevent cancer in the long run. We also have added the new fire gear extractor, which is basically a washing machine for that type of equipment. And we were awarded a firehouse subs grant a few months ago for a dryer. So that our turnaround time for cleaning gear went from 14 hours to 2. So that helps a lot. So between that and the 2 sets of gear, our employees are at a lesser, have less of an impact from the cancer causing carcinogens, big word. Some emergency management stuff. We had a full activation of the EOC in January of this year for a possible winter storm, which actually turned out not to be much, thankfully. We're going to count that as our exercise for the winter. So that actually worked out really well for us. We learned a lot. We're going to make some changes to our emergency operations plan that I'm going to bring to council hopefully in May. There's some things that we should have changed in the past couple of years. We'll finally bring those out. And that's just from real world experience and just from training and a few other odds and ends. We did finally receive a little bit of money from Hurricane Florence. It was $158,000. We still have approximately 3.6 million on the table. So hopefully we'll get to that soon. some risk management, some fun facts that nobody wants to hear. Workers' comp, we had 30 claims in 2021. That was up from 29 in 2020. Our goal for each year is only 20 claims. So we're way ahead of that, which is not good. So we're working on that internally. Property and liability, we had 41 claims in 2021. 10 of those were at-fault incidents, which is up from 39 in 2020. Our goal for that as well is 20. We did a little bit of digging to see where our incidents for accidents and injuries were. It's always on a Wednesday. That's our highest date for both, for accidents and injuries. And it's from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. and then from 1 to 2. So we're thinking when they first come to work and when they're coming back from lunch. So we're looking into that, but it kind of gives us an idea of what we need to work on throughout the city.
Do we have any incentives for not being involved in an accident
Yes, ma'am. We have a $100 safety bonus for having no at-fault incidents.
annually?
Yes, ma'am.
Wonderful.
The municipal association sent out a team back in February to do a safety audit. It was a former OSHA employee. He had 35 years of experience with OSHA, so he wanted to come out and kind of go through the city and make sure we were compliant. So we identified several areas of improvement, and most of those have been mitigated. Some of them we won't be able to get to quite yet, but we were able to mitigate most of those while they were there. So that helped us out a lot. So if we were to have a full OSHA inspection, we should be a lot more prepared now than we were. We've, in the past couple of months, revamped the accident and injury reporting process to make it a little bit more user-friendly for the department heads. Had a lot of positive feedback from that. And we've clearly identified the OSHA and safety training for each department. It's a little bit easier now. It's more based, it's group-based for group settings for rainy days. So that helps out a lot. And one of my favorite facts of the day is we had a 92.5% completion rate in 2021 of our safety training. So as a city, we're doing very well. We're actually one of the pace setters for the state for safety training and our safety program. So we're very proud of that. And I made a little note here I forgot to write down in my notes, but we're about to add our fire chaplain. We have not had one in several years. It's Reverend Cliff Mckethen from Sweetwater Branch Baptist Church. It's a mouthful. It's on Highway 544. Cliff was actually a volunteer and then became a career firefighter with us several years ago, and he left to go to the ministry. So we're going to try to bring him back on board so to add that element to the fire department. So once we get him on board, we'll bring him into council so you guys can meet him. So other than that, I'll entertain any questions.
Great,
I lost my
thank
bet. I talked too fast.
You got more words in.
That's right. I had fun
That counts
facts and
for
figures.
something.
He didn't have all that.
Any questions or comments? Thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
And now we will have council input. No. Oh, I'm sorry. Robert, I wouldn't miss you for anything. Mr. Cooper,
No, you're good. I can't compete with those guys. I got one page.
don't even try.
Since our last update in April, building department's issued 1,342 permits. Of those, 240 were single family and 10 were commercial. We performed 10,515 inspections, and we have attended a few conferences. We went to the Building Officials Association of South Carolina Conference in Myrtle Beach, the Coastal Code Enforcement Conference in Folly Beach, and we are preparing for the month of May as Building Safety Month. So we usually run a campaign for building safety, and we are planning a career day at Kingston Elementary in April. Facilities maintenance has most of the time been at the new building and planning department, but we've also extended the electrical services on Ash Pond for the celebration of lights, and we are currently working on new duct work for finance.
And Mr. Robert Cooper, we're just as proud of you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much for your report. So now we'll have council input. Does anybody know where we start? Thank you so much. Ms. Butler. Ms. Butler, scratch that. They're messing with me. Ms. Helms.
You start with me.
You, yes. Sorry.
Confusing me. All right, I got to put my glasses on. I'm old. All right, I've had a couple questions about when are they going to start the road between 16th and Mill Pine, Chicken Road, supposedly.
So we're working on the final documentation for the easement purposes. The owner of the property and the leaseholder of the property are good with it. Now we're going through Chick-fil-A and Walgreens have to approve the language in it too. So once we get all the legal stuff out of the way with those two entities, we're ready to roll. We don't have the permit yet from DOT, but we've submitted for it, but we can start the construction and get to the part where we connect to their road, but we're ready to roll as soon as we can get the permits, the approvals done.
All right, based on Ashley's talk or whatever he was doing, his input, I think we need to really we need to start buying some property for recreation. I just really think that the numbers are increasing. I really think we need to put a fast pace on buying some more property for the kids. I just think that's just a big deal to me, but anything we can do, I don't know what we can do quickly, but just because we buy a property doesn't mean all of a sudden it's going to be a field. So it's got to be a process. And the last I got to say is the roundabouts. I've got a lot of calls about those. We hadn't actually, we're not definite, or we hadn't made any decisions about roundabouts.
No.
We just talked about at budget retreat.
That's right.
Okay.
It's an idea that was suggested to us by our consultant. And before we go anywhere, before we would make any recommendation to y'all, we will have science and stuff to back it up, whether it would work or not. And then you can consider whether you want to go through with it or not. But we're not there yet.
All right. I appreciate staffs, everybody that spoke tonight. It went really fast. I keep looking, it's only 5:10. I'm like, yay, great meeting, but thanks for all y'all do.
Thank you, Ms. Helms. Mr. Hammond.
Just briefly, Adam touched on it, the Wildlife Expo this weekend. If you haven't gone and seen dock dogs and that kind of stuff, that's really, really neat. It seems like I'm excited every meeting about some event we're having, whether it's something that the city's putting on or Conway Downtown Alive's putting on, or the rec department's putting on, or chamber's putting on. And I think that just speaks volumes about our community and the fact that we just got so much cool stuff going on. And so I want to thank all those departments. Ashley, you and I have talked quite a few times about how the rec department's pretty much exploding and busting at the seams. And again, that's super exciting. That is so exciting. Other thing, it got mentioned earlier about prices going up. I want to thank Brandon. I know you kind of did some, I guess, estimating on what we may need in the future. I'm sure other department heads are doing that as well. But being able to buy things now that we're going to need in advance, this stuff's not coming down, and being able to get it now when it's available versus a year from now when we have a project we definitely need and we don't have material, that just creates a problem. William brought it up at budget retreat. I think he called it, said that we're stewards of taxpayers' money, and I can't think of a better way to put it. And if we can buy stuff now, it's going to be cheaper than if we have to buy it a year from now, and it may not even be available. So kudos to all department heads that are doing that. I just pointed out Brandon's because I saw that in our consent agenda. And lastly, I want to thank staff. Our budget retreat I thought was fantastic. Everything went smoothly. We as a council are very, very good at getting out of an escape room. We had a great time, and I think that is a testament to the staff and what a good job they did. So thank you guys.
Thank you, Mr. Hammond. Let's skip Mr. White. Mr. White.
We were talking about gas prices again, and we said since getting budget retreat about getting electric motorcycles and things of that nature. Have we also thought about having those poles to plug it into?
We have two currently in the city at the parking lot at Laurel and Fourth, and they've been replaced within the last 2 months. There are two at the library, and I believe they've been replaced as well. And we're looking at grants right now that might give us an opportunity to install more of those throughout the city.
And where I was going with this also is that could we not have them closer to where the actual cars or the motorcycles would be located?
Yeah, the good thing about the motorcycles though, they don't need a special stand. You can use just a standard power. Yeah, yeah. But for vehicles, we'll need power stations, and that'll be part of the future of going forward. Yeah.
And I saw the wheelchair basketball online, I think it was, and I was excited to see it happen. I said, "Ooh, in Conway, go us!" So thank you again for that as well. And lastly, I'm so glad we have the funding for Smith Jones. Amen, Jesus, thank you. And I'm finished.
Thank you, Mr. White. Mr. Goldfinch.
Thank you, Mayor. As we continue to talk about higher energy prices and the toll that takes, on everybody, including the city, is there any thought on purchasing that in bulk and storing it? I mean, is that
We've actually looked at it several times. The infrastructure needed to put a storage, like a distribution facility in place. It's pretty high. And it would, at this point, we think it would negate any cost savings for the fuel purchasing. We're under the state purchasing contract right now. The only advantage is you get the day's prices and not tomorrow's prices. But it's sort of up in the air whether, and I think it's, if I remember, it was like $150,000 for the infrastructure to put in the fuel station. And then everybody has to drive to the shop to fill up, and which would add more to the fuel tank as well. So it's at this point, we wouldn't recommend it.
I just wanted to add, that might be more plausible if we were fairly certain that prices would continue to rise and stay. But we've had so many instances where, we had scares and they went up and then they fell again. So that would cause that opportunity to recoup your money, put it further out,
That's right.
I suppose.
That's right. My worst fear would be to fill up the thing at $4 a gallon, and in 3 months it's down to $2. Yeah,
I understand. Absolutely. Last week, a young man was killed in an automobile accident just outside of Conway. And not our department, but another department that was leading that, posted a number of things on Facebook that got out there pretty quick. I love information. I love Facebook. I love knowing what's going on. But unfortunately, some members of his family found out via Facebook. And I just want to make sure that we've got safeguards in place to prevent something like that. That is, I can't imagine, but I can't imagine learning that way either. And I bring that up. I'm not trying to poo-poo on anyone. I just want to make sure that we've got our safeguards in place to prevent something like that.
I think I tell you all the time how fast we're growing and how big we are, how big we're getting, but we are very small in terms of social media. There are very few people that have the ability to post. And
Right.
I think that's our safeguard, is just, it's very limited in who can put the message out.
Absolutely. I'm gonna piggyback on what Ms. Helm said. We haven't even discussed as a council roundabouts, but in 12 years, I have never been bombarded with more phone calls, more emails, more confrontations at Food Lion, questions at the recreation center playing soccer, than I have about the roundabouts, to which I reply, we haven't discussed it. It was thrown out there as an idea from some consultants who offered that as a solution per the, if I'm correct, the survey that was sent out, and everybody was complaining about the traffic on Main Street. And so, whoa, horsey.
Yeah, the
We're
number one complaint at all of the public input sessions for the master plan was traffic on Main Street.
Yeah.
And we're very limited in what we can do. So they said, well, here's something you can do. They
Right.
didn't say we should do it. They didn't say do it. They
Well,
said something you can.
I even
do.
had a former council member call me and say, what are y'all thinking?
The same person called me.
And yeah. And what it is people, we've just gotten, there's so much information and so much media today. We don't read the story. We read the headline, and then we make up our own story, and we go to the next headline. And so I would encourage people to read the story. It's in there. Mayor, that's all I've got, I think.
Take your time.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
You're welcome. Mr. Jordan.
Thank you, Mayor. I think everybody's kind of touched on everything I had. I will say I watched the young lady from Coastal in her track meet, and in the first heat, they don't even mention her. And she was blazing fast. And then, to see her win a national championship, the emotion on her. So, kudos to her. Follow up with Mr. Hyman, budget retreat. Thank you to staff. You'll make our life a little bit easier. And You seem to have a lot of confrontations in Food Line, so it's my reminder to stay away from Food Line if you're there. So, other than that, I stopped shopping at IGA, keeping it back. But with that, that's all I have there.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan. Ms. Butler.
I just wanted to follow up with what Mr. Jordan said about Melissa Jefferson's. I was able to watch her match too, and I think that's a lot of pride that we can take in our city, that someone from Coastal has won such a great accomplishment. Coastal has a phenomenal track and field program. They actually produced an Olympian, Amber Campbell, years ago when she went to the Olympics. So definitely want to continue to support Coastal's track and field. Also just wanted to encourage everyone to follow up with Conway High School spring sports. They're also doing a wonderful job with their soccer, softball, baseball, track and field. And they're doing some great things. And so just continue, if you can, to support Conway High School spring athletics. A big thank you to Ashley and his crew at the rec for giving our young people an opportunity to play spring sports. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Butler. 2 or 3 people have already mentioned this, but I'm really supportive of opportunities to buy in advance. Maybe not gasoline, but anything that, for any commodity for which this makes sense. If we've got storage for it, I cannot see, even in the inflated world we are a part of today, that prices will ever really substantially drop. I think that's a good precedent that's been made by Public Works and Ms. Carlson, and I'd like to see it made in other departments as well. Can't read that. I visit cities and public places and even public ladies' restrooms all over the place. And except for me seeing in a public restroom over the past week, a sign with a folded thumb and repeated raises of the hand, what does that mean? Does anybody know? That means I can't get away. I need help. It looks like a wave, but that thumb means that person is calling out for help. We were approached, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago about maybe putting some signs in our ladies' rooms so that we could, okay, thank you. So that we could, I just lost my train of thought. So that we might be able to aid somebody. You never know who's going to show up where. And I don't feel good at all about us pretending that it can't happen in Conway. We are too close to the Grand Strand, and I'm not saying that they've got a huge problem, but certain personalities are drawn to a place like that, and certain opportunities exist in a place like that. And I would just like for the council to revisit that whole idea. I just think it's not a lot about nothing. I think it's a lot about something really, really important. I mentioned to Adam that in Clemson, South Carolina, in early June, there will be a conference of the International Towns and Gowns Association. And apparently it's a really, really big deal. Some of these conferences are actually held out of this country, and it's going to be in Clemson. Towns and Gowns has to do with municipalities that have a college or university in their confines or very nearby, because it takes all kinds of coordination. And when you consider the direction in which we'd like to grow relative to being more of a college town, having more of a college presence in our downtown, that sort of thing, I think that might be something we'd want to take advantage of. And that is all I have. Well, I enjoyed the retreat as well. I grow every year. I'll leave it at that. And where my mind is closed, it gets open for me. And I thank you for that, y'all. Thank you so much. So I did want to say one thing. I absolutely value everything that our recreation department does. I think it's wonderful. I think it adds to health. I think it adds to learning so many good social skills, not just physical skills. And I think it's important for children. I also think as the numbers grow and we need more fields and we need more basketball courts and we need all those things, I think we also need to offer something different to our children. There are people who are like me as a young Barbara Joe Blaine who couldn't hit, catch, run, throw, do anything, and still can't. But there's this thing I call culture. There are other arts that I think that we can bring to bear for our young citizens. I mean, for all our citizens, it'll grow at some point. But I don't want us to ever give up on the thought of using some of the funds that we have in a different direction. I love that we're bringing in out-of-state tournaments or in-state tournaments. I have nothing negative to say about that, but there's more to the world than sports. Man, I got to tell you, more than Sunday football. Enough said, enough said. That is it for me. Thank you. So with that said, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Goldfitch.
So moved.
Second, Mr. White.
Second.
I got the right people on the side of me. We have a properly seconded motion to adjourn this meeting. All in favor with show of hands, please. And the meeting is